Have you been exploring your spirituality and learning more about yourself? And now you're ready to take bold, positive action. Are you seeking clarity about what is really blocking you from your greatest potential? Do you feel like you're so close to a breakthrough, but you can't figure out why you continue to feel stuck at the same level? Join us now for Real Talk with Joyce and Jennifer, two transformational coaches who are eager to share all they've learned over the many years they've each been working with clients, helping them create the life they want. Joyce and Jennifer both have extensive, diverse backgrounds in the art of conscious transformation, and they are here to help you. So tune in now for the insight and tools you need to consciously live, work, and play, so that you can live the life you most deeply long to experience.
Hi, it's Joyce here. Welcome to Real Talk with Joyce and Jennifer. I'm a transformational coach, life purpose facilitator, and retreat leader who guides women to find clarity and purpose in times of transition, loss, and transformation, to live their most authentic and courageous lives.
Hey everyone, it's Jennifer, and I'm also a transformational coach, facilitator, and consultant, which means I transform the mentality of leaders so that their entire staff and corporate culture can shift toward higher purpose. But most importantly, I'm a mom. So I'm not sure if there are any current affairs we want to touch on today, Joyce, and quite honestly, I don't feel motivated to talk about sexual misconduct or political strife anymore, though we would certainly have plenty to talk about. Yeah. I do want to remind us all to keep praying, though, for all those who have been gravely impacted by natural disasters like the hurricanes and the wildfires. And we definitely want to send loving, healing energy and thoughts to those whose loved ones they've lost in senseless shootings and the recent train derailment. And since we live in Atlanta, Joyce, our airport has been on the news recently. Since it's the world's busiest airport, it got a lot of media attention when it lost its power and had to cancel or change literally hundreds and hundreds of flights. Talk about holiday stress. For me, it reminded me of last summer my parents were here, and they hadn't visited for a long time because my father is severely handicapped. He's a double amputee. He's a hemorrhagic stroke survivor. He's also had multiple mini strokes as well as hydrocephalus, which left him demented, incontinent, and immobile for 18 months. He has a burst gallbladder, 2 forms of cancer, several bouts of pneumonia, and the list could go on and on. Literally, I can't list it all or it would take up the entire show. Anyway, the bottom line is he has high needs when he's traveling, and they flew here for the trip. And when they were here, Atlanta had a huge storm that caused the same chaos at the airport that we witnessed this week. My parents were there, with the wheelchair for hours on end. So I was there with them on the second day because they got postponed like 2 and 3 days in a row, and were told every hour on the hour, here, move to this gate, move to that gate, move to this gate. It was truly maddening because you think you're going and you're never going, and then the whole day's gone and you're just exhausted. And some of these people, their medications were packed, and there are others who were in wheelchairs that didn't have family. They're pretty self-sufficient, but not in a situation like that. So I was helping other people in wheelchairs get around and get to the different gates and take potty breaks and so forth. And, in the grand scheme of things, that type of situation is a total pain. There's no doubt, and especially for those who are disabled or handicapped. But it's also an opportunity to thank our lucky stars that we are on the ground in one piece, and we will eventually get where we're trying to go. My parents finally did get home. My mother swore she'd never fly back, but that's another story. I think gratitude is a powerful force when we're struggling with major frustrations like that. And changing our perspective can change our quality of life dramatically and instantaneously. So we just must remember that we hold that power every second of every day. I don't know if you have anything to add. I just kind of went on my own there, Joyce.
No, I'm with you. I really just want to keep the energy kind of peaceful and not go into not maybe just let it go for a few hours, a week or so of another thing that's going to happen to clear us. So, no, I'm with you on this. Don't want to talk about any more sexual harassment right now, but So
right.
let's get on.
Let's talk holidays.
Let's talk holidays, because that's so much fun, we know. So welcome to our show, Holiday, Ho Ho Hum. So, that's what we're going to talk about, getting through the holidays. So it has clearly been a challenging, troubling year filled with, a lot of sadness, loss, and grief for many people, for the earth, and certainly for our precious animals. Yet, at the same time, it's been a year of breaking open our old core collective and personal wounds that need to be revealed so they can be healed. So in 2018, I think it's time for some peaceful dialogue, some dreaming of possibilities of things being different, and some real true transformation. And true transformation requires a conscious shift in understanding things like why we must have a real true change in the beliefs that, number one, that we're separate from each other, that the people all over the earth, some are better, some are not so good, some are different. We are one. And through all this, we're eventually going to understand this, that we are one. And also from just the ways that we've dishonored the earth. So those are two things that I hope for 2018 to start to move through those. So as we enter the sacred holidays around the world, Christmas, Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa, I would like to share the meaning of the word gift. So, the word gift has several meanings. It can mean good luck, give and receive, inner power, natural ability, giving willingly. But historically, this time around the holidays and the winter solstice was a time of spending time with loved ones, feasting, singing, dancing during the fire days and the nights of reconnecting us to our souls. So originally, it was a little bit different holidays than a lot of us experience now. So, I love the idea of reconnecting and taking time to connect and to reconnect with family and friends. Most of us don't really spend days in ceremonies anymore, but we can connect to our deeper self and our spiritual gifts as people did years ago, where they honored the differences in people and the gifts that people brought onto the planet that was their uniqueness. So, we can also implement some of the ideas Jennifer and I will be discussing on the show that can help you just feel more connected, because connection is important around the holidays. So holidays, are a time of coming together with loved ones to celebrate seasonal festivals. And yet the holidays can be one of the most stressful times of year for many people. Pressure to spend money, time, energy on things that socially deemed important can leave you feeling really overwhelmed and exhausted and fearful of what may happen if you don't get all those gifts you think you need. So, Jennifer, is it really the most wonderful time of the year?
What a question. That makes me want to sing, "It's the most wonderful time." We having been raised Irish Catholic, okay, let me start there. I love so much of what this time of year represents. I love that we honor Jesus' birth and that we do so in a festive and gracious way by gathering together and giving gifts to one another. And since I'm raising children with a Jewish heritage because their father, my ex-husband, is Jewish, I also love Hanukkah and what it represents, which is the miracle in the temple when, after much persecution and hardship, the Jewish soldiers who came back to restore the temple wanted to purify it after so much desecration. And they needed oil to light the menorah for 8 days in order to do so. So they only had enough oil for one day, and that was a problem. They were very disappointed. And then miraculously, they went ahead and used the oil, they lit it, and it lasted all 8 days, which is what they needed for the ritual, the purification ritual. And this is why Hanukkah lasts 8 days. It's the miracle of light. And Christmas, of course, represents the miracle of the virgin birth. So I personally really enjoy the fact that so many of us on the planet, and particularly here in the U.S., celebrate miracles this time of year. because I'm a huge believer in miracles. In my coaching practice and in my own life over the years, I've witnessed miracles and magic so many times because of the power of faith and belief. And this is the time of year when we tend to focus more on it. And yet, no matter how many times I've witnessed it, it humbles me completely every single time. I'm not watching anybody walk on water, obviously. But for me, I define a miracle as something that somebody truly does not believe is possible. And there's always somebody who comes along and says, but it is possible. And then next thing you know, it comes to fruition. And I just love it. I love the power of that and that we hold that kind of power and we don't exercise it. So I guess to go the long way around to answering your question, Joyce, these are the reasons I feel it's such a wonderful time of year. Is it the most wonderful time of year? I don't know. I think that depends on how we handle it. Because there's two sides to every coin. In every experience, there is the potential for a blessing and a curse. And it is our choice in the exercise of free will in which one of those it becomes. It's our choice by virtue of the power of our thoughts and our beliefs. So when we start making this season all about buying the perfect gift, serving the perfect meal, decorating the perfect house and tree, and so forth, we lose the essence of this magical season's power. Perfection is not an aspiration if we want to truly savor the season's blessings. That's what causes us to stress out, shopping, fighting over the good retail deals, losing ourselves in gluttonous amounts of food and alcohol. In fact, that's something I've had to curb this year, too many parties. I love parties, but there's so many. I could go to one every single night. I've lost my quality of sleep because of it, and my body started letting me know who's boss again. So, just last weekend, I had to bow out of one birthday party and two holiday parties simply because of my exhaustion. But, it was an exhaustion in a good way because I'm celebrating with friends and having a wonderful time. But too much of anything can become a bad thing. But, and I'm happy to report that instead of sulking about having to cancel those, I got my fireplace going and I enjoyed the downtime. So, Joyce, what are some of the stressors that increase during this time, during the holidays?
Sure. Well, that fireplace sounds great to me, I tell you. I don't have one, but I do want one. It's on my list to get a fireplace, to live in a place where I can have a fireplace because I love them. So there are many stressors that increase during the holidays. So, we're all aware of the holiday expectations and the guilt associated with not following through with what society has deemed appropriate for us. And as if life hadn't become busy enough, you're now faced with how we're going to manage everything from our finances to finding extra time to plan, shop, entertain, and the ensuing exhaustion, as you just talked about. So for some, the holidays may bring up emotions of sadness or loneliness from the loss of a loved one or not having a special someone to share of the holidays with. And this is a statistic I just found out. Remember that 49% of women are single and they live alone or with their children. And so that's another whole thing that can bring up a lot of sadness for women. Or for men who are alone, who are divorced or widowed, who are alone during the holidays. So I think the first stressor, obviously, is money and finances, which is always going to be at the top of the list. And Dr. Chopra talked about this in an article that he had written. Says it should come to no surprise that money tops the list of holiday stressors. And according to the Holiday Stress Report from the American Psychological Association, stress has a major impact on lower middle class citizens who feel the weight of stress from work plus the seasonal rush to find time to get everything done. In addition, these worries about money are heightened by the commercialism of the season and the pressure to spend a lot of money. Commercialism plays a huge role in holiday stress with that in-your-face pressure of commercials to spend. And so we know that is a major one, particularly, like I said, with middle-class people who don't are people who just don't have all that much money to buy all these gifts and toys and tennis shoes and things that are really, really expensive. So the second stressor would be time. So the holidays can increase your stress when it comes to your time and how it's spent. Some people get generous holiday leave from their careers, while others find themselves working up to the last minute and having to return again the next day after Christmas. So that creates a lot of stress right there. So another big consideration is managing the expectation of others when it comes to how you choose to spend your time. So it's others, like you were saying, who are wanting you to spend your time in a different way. Or some of the expectations may be self-imposed, like I should go see my family, but I really don't have the money to travel 2,500 miles across the country. Or I'm supposed to go to this company holiday party, but I don't really feel comfortable with all those company people there, and I don't really have anything to wear, so I just don't think I want to go. So, and I think there are ways to figure both of those out, but those are things that come up for people in real life. So the third stressor would be energy, mental, emotional, and physical. So another major player in the holiday stress is, as I said, mental, emotional, and physical toll it takes on you. You may have old wounds and beliefs that are unhealed that get triggered when you're with your family. When relatives gather, and sadness can really creep in then. As much as you don't want it to, it can happen. It happens a lot with a lot of family members when they come together. So traditions around the holidays, however, can bring joy and foster connection. Also, people who are happier around the holidays often have traditions that strengthen social connections and help them to build a sense of belonging. And this is one I really understand of having how important, I never really realized this until I got older, how important traditions are. And an example is of my friend who has everything has been going on in her house for years, and there are third generation people who come there. Her kids, their kids now, their boyfriends. So the house is filled with all these generational people. And she's the one that is the container for all of us to come to. So, I never think about it until it's Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then I think, wow, that has meant so much in my life since I've lived in Atlanta years and years ago. She had the home that we all felt comfortable to come to and bring food and eat and have a good time together. And so, it's important.
I love that.
It's important to have that. So, yeah. So Jennifer,
it absolutely is.
Yeah, it is. And I don't think we think about it like it's so critical. But after we don't have it, and we have to figure out where we're going, or we spend time by ourselves, then it's another situation. But what do you experience? Do you experience other stressors during the holidays?
Oh, sure. And so, you know what? I'll answer that question when we come back. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Have you or someone you love ever experienced a major loss? The kind of loss so cataclysmic that it divided life into before and after. The death of a beloved person or pet, the loss of a job, a health challenge, can leave us feeling empty, lost, alone, wondering if we'll ever feel joy again. Loss is universal. Grief is part of the human condition. But in our modern world, we've lost the ability to understand, share, and integrate our grief. We're expected to grieve privately and quickly get over it. This February 23rd through 25th, the Atlanta Grief and Loss Center will be hosting a retreat that will allow you to fully feel, integrate, and catalyze your grief. Our retreat is called Heartbroken Open, Grief as a Sacred Path to Renewal and Rebirth. If you are grieving, or if you work with clients who are grieving, you'll find more information about this powerful retreat at atlantagriefandlosscenter.com/retreats or call 404-881-1322. America's wild Mustangs need our support more than ever. If you believe in the preservation of our iconic wild Mustangs and our wild places, now and for future generations, we invite you to walk with Wild Love Preserve. Founded in 2010, nonprofit Wild Love Preserve has pioneered an innovative model in wild horse conservation, which has garnered national attention and is serving as a framework in the West. As a unique legacy project, kindness, mutual respect, science, and education drive Wild Love Preserve's mission to protect and preserve Western wild horses in their native habitats and nurture the legacy of respective indigenous ecosystems as an interconnected whole for future generations to equally treasure and nurture. Thank you for your action and for having a positive impact on our lasting wildness. Together, we succeed on behalf of our greater good and collective well-being. As a charitable nonprofit, Wild Love Preserve relies on donations and grants to fund our operations in Central Idaho. Thank you for considering a tax-deductible donation to Wild Love Preserve. Please visit wildlovepreserve.org to learn more.
Well, welcome back. So before the break, Joyce asked if I had any other stressors during the holiday. And in fact, one of the parties I canceled last weekend was one that I've been to every year for the past several years. And I'm nearly always the only single person there. And I certainly don't mind being single. In fact, I think my mother is terrified that I'm never going to marry again. She thinks I'm way too comfortable being single and that doesn't give her hope for my future. She's so afraid that I'm going to die alone. So if you're listening, Mom, I'm sorry I called you out on that. I know you're only doing it because you love me. But the fact of the matter is that I've had serious relationships over the years, and I have had a couple of them that were really good and healthy. But, I've also had a handful of men that just kind of make me not want to do it again. And so I've enjoyed being single. What can I say? Yet I do fall in that statistic that you said, Joyce. I am one of that 49% of women who are single and with children. And so this is a time of year where I have to watch that I don't fall prey to the notion that being single is a bad thing. And I just feel like it's just the time of year when that happens. There's New Year's parties around the corner, and it's the same thing. And even though I do have suitors and invitations, which I am truly grateful for, oftentimes I just want to chill out or hang out with my girlfriends instead because A, I'm so busy during regular work days that I long for quiet time to myself, and B, I know I'll be asked 1,000 times if I'm dating anyone. Or when am I going to start dating? Or have I thought about online dating? And I know everyone that asks me means well. I do know that. And so I'm not complaining. It's just that when you hear it multiple times in a short period of time because you're going to so many parties and you're having so many social interactions, it can start to get to you. And I guess I've become that person who would find it so nice if Mr. Right would just fall from the sky because I just don't have the energy for it all. So there's that. But other stressors for me can be the expectations of my kids to get gifts that they enjoy. And they may not even be putting the expectations on me. I may be putting it on myself. You know, I adore these kids. They are the sweetest, most loving kids who never put that type of pressure on me. But because of that, I want to give them the best gifts ever. And I guess you could say I'm one of those people that Deepak Chopra is talking about. Because yes, buying so much more this time of year can be incredibly stressful. I will say that this is the time of year when I am eternally grateful to Amazon, because the one thing I really used to stress out about was going shopping with thousands of other people. I find that whole experience utterly fatigue-inducing. That type of shopping is for people like my mother and my daughter who love to shop just to see and touch and feel everything, and I'm not one of them. So suffice it to say, I am acutely aware that because of all of the above, I have to work harder at self-care and keeping a positive frame of mind this time of year, because it can quickly become exhausting, which always leads us to low quality thoughts. You know, when we're tired, our minds get lazy too, and we'll start going into bad places with our thoughts. I've also learned how to take my thoughts one step farther. Instead of coming home feeling deflated by everyone's questions about my love life, I now just turn it into an opportunity. It wasn't so long ago when I simply did not want a relationship. I just didn't for a long period of time. So my mother probably had just cause for concern. So even though I would answer the questions politely, in my head I was thinking, I have no desired date. I don't even know why we're talking about this. But now I've turned a corner. I actually would like to date, and that is a huge change for me. But I don't want to date just to date. That's not my shtick. But I am finally ready to open up and get to know someone at a more intimate level. And because of this, I now shift my thoughts out of a defeatist attitude like, forget about it, or woe is me. And I think instead, yeah, that sounds like a great intention for me to set in the new year. I think I would like to start a meaningful romantic relationship. And so I just kind of shift and I look at the possibilities instead. And Joyce, that's huge for me. So, so that's just kind of, you asked me, there you got it, right? So let's talk about some of the things we do this season that are really awesome. How about that? Joyce, what you got?
That's great. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. You're changing.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I'm really big on rituals, and if you listen to me enough, you know I've talked constantly about how to engage and do things and keep yourself positive, and how to catch yourself before you get going down that lonely, depressing lane that you don't want to go down. So here are some few rituals that I think allow people to feel that they're part of something bigger. And are great. Some of these are great for if you're single. So the first one that I think is probably one of the best things to do, whether you're with a family or you're single, is giving back. And so one of the best traditions, are the ones that involve giving back. When you give, you get. And studies have shown that giving time or money boosts your feelings of happiness and connection. If you have a holiday tradition, you can, like volunteering in a soup kitchen, delivering meals, or filling stockings for children in need. You know, the benefits are unbelievably high of what they get and what you get. So both the receiver and the giver have positive outcomes. And if you don't already have a tradition of altruism, you may want to start one this year. So the second thing I like as a ritual, and this does become a ritual, is cooking. So holidays are filled with tastes that you enjoy, pretty much certain things, only once or twice a year. So this brings up, a memory. So my mother made traditional holiday desserts called these gingerbread cookies that were really, really good. And I love gingerbread to this day because probably that's what we had at Christmas. And of course, she would make several kinds of yummy fudge and many other kinds of cookies that we only ate at Christmas, during the holidays, or at dinner. And I also remember that I would sneak into the kitchen after everyone was asleep and eat way too many of those cookies. But I loved it. It was just a whole thing about having that kind of food. So cooking during the holidays is different than everyday cooking. You know, it's an activity you often do in collaboration with your friends and family, and meals become a labor of love. And smells and the tastes kind of bring a sense of home no matter where you are. So I think most people love holiday cooking and what they get served or what they cook. The other thing is singing, are listening to music specifically from the past memories. So this festival time of year comes with a lot of seasonal songs. These range from timeless hymns to holiday hits and those funny songs you sang when you were in grade school, chorus. For me, the holidays brings back the memories of years of singing Christmas songs at this little church my family attended in Louisville for many, many years. And hearing these songs on the radio really bring back a sense of nostalgia and sort of a smile of the times that I went to those that I didn't really appreciate them. But thinking about it, all those things are important. You just don't realize it while you're young, that having these things in your life are really important to bring forward in your life. And, the physiological benefits of singing include stress reduction, improving your immunity, and reducing muscle tension. So there's lots of benefits of singing along with the music or just listening to the music that you really like, that you don't listen to every day, but you listen to it during the holidays. The next ritual, of course, is decorating, which is a huge ritual in this country because we know how crazy people can get with all these lights and really go for it. But so seeing the decorations around your home change can be a real happy booster. These objects tend to be specific memories from the past. If the memories are wonderful, by replaying them in your mind with gratitude, you kind of increase the power of positivity. If the memories are tense or less positive, you really have the opportunity to relegate them to the past and move forward using humor, forgiveness, and gratitude. That you're no longer in the past. You're now, and you can choose how you want to decorate yourself or if you don't want to decorate. So if you don't have strong traditions yet, don't worry. This year is the perfect time to begin. So, Jennifer, what were your favorite holiday traditions?
Oh my gosh, I have them, but I have to say, Joyce, that when you said that about singing, that really got my attention. I have not heard that before, that it boosts immunity, and it got me thinking. My daughter and I sing all the time, and we're hardly ever sick. And my son gets sick more often, and he plays instruments, and he's very musical, but he never sings. So anyway, everybody sing during the season. This is when we get colds and flus. Sing. And speaking of, you say what you're asking me what my favorite holiday traditions are. And my first answer out of the gate with that is music. It is my language of love without a doubt. And some of my all-time favorite songs appear this time of year. The songs The Prayer, Oh Holy Night, and Ave Maria rank way at the top of the list. They always move my soul, and I'll get tears welling up in my eyes because of it. And several years ago, as many people know, Celine Dion produced a holiday album featuring those three songs. So my family, both here and Indiana, keep the tradition alive by playing that CD every year. I think I had 2 different CDs. I now have it on my Pandora station. It's everywhere. And my kids really made fun of me last year because I couldn't stop. I listened, maybe it's 2 years ago. I listened to it until July. So music is one, I know, right? 7 years of Christmas. So they were probably like, okay, we can stop that tradition now. But the second one is baking. When I was growing up, I baked so many Nestle Toll House cookie batches that I had the recipe memorized by the time I was 10. And so today, my daughter and I keep the tradition alive by baking together and then packaging them and giving them to friends and neighbors. Each year, we try something new. 2 years ago, she wanted to bake rainbow cakes in mason jars, which was a huge hit. And I had to somehow put a tag on it that made it make sense with the holidays because it was rainbow colors. So I was like, it wasn't, the gay pride parade. It was Christmas. So I think it says something like, may your holidays be colorful and festive. But it was really fun and delicious. This year we tried chocolate cupcakes with white icing and coconut on top. And those were really yummy. So I've had to keep them out of sight. But we always have our chocolate chip cookies as staples. And then, of course, another tradition is decorating. As you said, decorating is fun, and we have memories pour out of nearly every ornament. One of the things we do because we're divorced is keep a tradition of how we spend Christmas Day. Even though my ex-husband is Jewish, he really loves Christmas, so he puts up a tree every year. And in fact, it's kind of a joke in the family because he got the tree in the divorce because I always wanted a live tree anyway. So I'm like, you can have that one. That's fine. He really wanted it. I typically host most of the Jewish holidays at my house throughout the year, and we all gather at his house on Christmas morning. So it's really odd, but we do it, and we love it, and we exchange gifts. And it's fun because over the years, then I get to sort of play Santa. I wrap and hide the gifts at my house, and then I load my SUV, also known as my sleigh that time of year, super early in the morning so that I could, put them all out under the tree before they woke up. And now that they're teenagers, we keep the tradition alive, but Santa takes her time to stop at Starbucks first. So there's always, it's like, well, now it's my turn. I don't have to get up at, 5. But there's also a religious tradition that I kept when I was younger that I now only do periodically because of our schedule, and that's midnight mass. I find it to be more mystical and magical than a typical church service. I just love the drama of the midnight mass. But that was a bigger tradition back in the days when I was a practicing Catholic. So I guess you could say I'm pretty typical when it comes to traditions this time of year. But Joyce, earlier in the show, you mentioned a very important point about how this time of year can cause feelings of loss and grief. It's a time of year when many souls pass over, leaving their loved ones to grieve the loss. And a mortal perspective on this suggests that more people die this time of year because of the depression of the holidays. But I think it's also been said that many souls choose to pass over this time of year because this is the time when they get to say goodbye to everyone at the same time. The family members are gathering already. And either way you look at it, I think we should touch on, how tough this can be on so many who have lost their loved ones this time of year or are suffering some kind of depression or sense of loss during the holidays. So for those of you who fall in this category, all we can say is know you are loved. Feel it in your heart. Cherish the precious good times that you've had and believe that there are more to come for you. I get a little choked up about that because I don't want people to suffer this time of year. And I am so empathetic. I just feel it. I can feel it. So I let myself feel it. But I also think we are more prone to depressive thoughts when stress levels get too high. So we really wanted to do this show to try to just put it on the table and say, watch it, watch that. Keep an eye on the balance in your life right now and make sure that we are all really embracing the joy of the season and not succumbing to all the other temptations that can really send us into a bad place. But for those of you who are suffering, I just know we love you and know you are loved. So, Joyce, how can we shift, the holiday experience if it's not going so well for some? Maybe it's not as deep and dark as I'm suggesting for some, but just the average, I got caught up in the tension and the stress. What now? What do you got?
Well, I do have something, because before we get to that question, I want to go back to where you were talking about people who experience loss and grief, because I have been running a 4-week coping with loss and grief during the holidays. And these very courageous women are there. And that's all I can say for them. They knew they needed help and that this was going to be really a traumatic time. And so they stepped up by signing up for this class. And I think it's really been powerful that they've been in a group with other people who have lost their fathers, their spouse, their animals, their children, and have been able to talk about it freely, because Christmas is not a time, again, that if you've had a loss that you want to come to a family thing and sit there and talk about it. So I really recommend that people have experience not only at Christmas, but get some help, go to a group where you can feel free to talk about this. And it makes a tremendous change. They have all really changed. It's just in 4 weeks I've been really amazed that they've been able to let go of a little bit. Doesn't mean that the grief's totally gone, but it certainly is a beginning. So
yes, and thank you for doing that, Joyce. It's a powerful process.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. So let's get back to how we can shift the holiday experience if it's not going so well for some of them. So these are some of the things that I've actually used that I think are just helpful reminders that, first of all, really keep your expectations. Oh, we're getting ready to take a break. So we'll be right back to talk some more about that.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
Depleted by the rat race? Depressed by the attitudes of the human race? The book Honor explains why and how to transform your life from confusion and heartache to one that you most authentically desire. Join OMTimes radio host Jennifer McKenna Weinbaum as she takes you on her journey from her darkest period to her happiest and healthiest life. Entertaining, enlightening, Honor will help you find and maintain the love and light in your own life. Visit www.universalabundance.com to pre-order your copy.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living, a chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
Listen, my life changed because someone was there to get me to use drugs. No one can understand. People think that having someone who will listen makes it better. I need help.
I'm listening.
I need help. I think that having someone who will listen makes it better. People understand. No one can get me to use drugs. My life changed because someone was there to listen.
Go to heretolisten.com for tips and tools to turn addiction around. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back, and let's talk some more about things that we can shift, how we can shift during the holidays so that your experience might be a little bit better. So these are some things that I've actually tried that I think have been helpful. The first one is to keep my expectations simple, easy, and realistic. Like don't expect too much, don't expect really anything, just expect it to be simple. And try to keep it simple for yourself. And don't try to do too much, which I'm the master of doing too much, so don't try to do too much. Fatigue, overscheduling, and taking on too many tasks can dampen your spirits. Just learn to say no, like Jennifer said earlier. Say no if you don't want to go or it's too much, or one more thing is going to just be one more thing that's going to even make you more exhausted. Say no. Delegate as much as possible and manage your time wisely. Critical suggestion. Don't isolate. If you're feeling left out, then get out of the house and find some way to join in. There are hundreds of places you can go to hear music, enjoy the sights, or help those less fortunate. And I just have a brief story. I remember I had broken up with actually my fiance not too long after I moved to Atlanta, and it was around Christmas, and I was alone, and I was still in that grief process really bad. So I just said, I can't stay at home by myself. I didn't hardly know anybody. I didn't really know, have that many connections. So I decided, I found this one church that was open, and so I went to this church. And afterwards, after the service, they were serving lunch for people who had no one to be with, and so I was there. And so, even though I was still very sad, it just helped me a lot. As I drove home, I felt better, and I thought, we've really done something just to do this. Staying at home and being in bed or spending that time by yourself would have really been sad. But it was just a simple thing that I did that helped me. And, whether you go back to that church or not, it doesn't really matter. It just matters that you engaged, you went there. So don't isolate. So don't overspend. Create a reasonable budget and stick to it. Remember, it's not about the presents. It's about presence, being with people and getting who they are and enjoying them. The next one is, it's appropriate to mourn, as we just were talking about loss and grief. And if you're separate from or having lost loved ones, if you can be with those you love, make plans to celebrate again. If you can't be with those, make plans to be with them when you can, if that's a better decision for you. So the next one is watch your diet. Remember to exercise. So it's pretty normal to eat more during the holidays, but just be aware of how certain foods affect your mood. And it can be very helpful to take a walk before or after a big holiday meal. You don't want to enjoy so much you come home and you feel really bad that you've eaten all that food and all that sugar. So the last one is learn forgiveness and acceptance. Remember, forgiveness is the main way to find freedom. There's probably nothing more important in your life that you ever do is to learn to forgive things so you can move on. So, Jennifer, how do you shift your mind to have a good experience during the holidays when things may not be going so well?
I'm going to say, right. My tactics are super simple, and I've already mentioned them earlier in different ways, but for me, I always use music to my advantage. I'll consciously choose music that lifts my spirit and mood. So whether I'm in the car, at my desk, or in the kitchen, I always have some device handy to turn on some tunes. I also stay alert to when my brain is wanting to go into a funk, which, if left to its own devices, that would probably be pretty often. There's triggers all around me to take me back in time to bad memories. And I'll consciously turn my perspective into an opportunity. So instead of thinking about what I wish I had, I'll think about the possibilities for what the coming year can bring and how I can shift my thoughts and plans to nurture my dreams instead of lament my losses. And that's a big, it's simple, but it's big. It's a big shift, and it takes a strong will to do it because the mind really wants to stay in a funk. I don't know what that is about our minds. We just get addicted to it. But of course, if I'm truly having a moment and I really just need to let myself have that moment, I will always allow myself to cry. And in fact, I had a little bitty cry yesterday during my workout. I work out every day, and my body, I think because I've had so much going on with all these parties, it was presenting some joint pain that triggered some really bad health memories. And I just needed a good cry because, for those of us that work out, we know that sometimes you can do an intense workout and it's going to conjure up all kinds of emotions that you were not expecting. And that happened. And so this cute guy in my class, he mentioned, would I like to stay for the stretching class after? And as badly as I wanted to, I knew I needed to get to my car and let the tears flow. I just needed privacy. And it didn't take long to turn that moment around, but I needed to give myself permission to just allow it to flow through. And so that's what I choose to do instead of fighting it or holding on to it or pretending like it's not there. And like most women, I just feel better. I feel clearer and stronger after I cleanse my mind with a few tears. And like I said earlier, if I'm feeling run down by all the extra activity of the season, I have learned to graciously turn down invitations to give myself what I really need, which in those cases was some downtime. Joyce, how about you? What's in store for you? What's on the plate? in your holiday world?
Well, sure. Well, you know that I cry, so I'm totally in sync with if you need to cry, wail, cry, and then move out of it. Don't let yourself stay in there for hours, but cry, and you're going to feel so much better, so much better. So anyway, here are a few things that I'm actually doing during the holidays. So I started like a week before and a week after because I get going for 2018. So what I did last night was I signed up for Marianne Williamson's her live stream, and it was on the spiritual meaning of Christmas. And so that made me feel really good that I could actually.
I bet that was so good.
Watch that, and she answered questions, and she had prayer through the whole thing. It was in a beautiful church in New York with lots of memories. So and anybody can do that anytime. She's on every Tuesday. You can sign up MarianneWilliamson.com for her live downloads, and they're pretty great, and they're free. So the other thing I always do that I'll do sometime is I watch this favorite movie with Steve Martin and John Candy. And I watch it every year. It's just part of Christmas. It's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I don't know if you've ever seen it, Jennifer, but it's really goofy, really goofy. And I've seen it so much that I got the gift last year. My friend gave me Planes, Trains, and Automobiles so that I could watch it. And it is the goofiest, and I've seen it so many times that it's like when you go see these movies over and over that, oh my God, here comes that scene. Here comes this goofy scene where these two guys are having this whole trip about going home, trying to get home, and what happens with them as they're stranded in all these cities. That's where Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. But if you want a good laugh, well, maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. But anyway, that's what I watch. I did a winter solstice ritual where there was meditation and chants. On Christmas I cook I cook breakfast for myself, and I usually cook a really nice breakfast, and I love to eat in bed. So I just enjoy that and sit there and either read or watch something on TV and enjoy the morning before I go out. I also will be joining a friend and her guest for a small dinner party, and so I will, I'll stay there for a small amount of time. I don't usually go places and stay like hours and hours because my mind, I just, I like it a little at a time, and so that works for me. Also, when I come on Christmas, I call my friends who live all over the United States. I call them and reconnect with them over the holidays, and it's just something that makes me feel good. I also spend time meditating, and then after Christmas, I start working on my plans for 2018 and review what needs to shift, what needs to be let go of from 2017. So that's pretty much what I'm doing, Jennifer. How about you?
I love it. I love it. Well, I really appreciate that you brought up the winter solstice because that's tomorrow. And thank you for the reminder because that used to be part of my ritual, and I'm going to pick it back up because you just reminded me to. I used to do this card reading for myself. In case you don't know, as traditional as I may sound with my storytelling, I have upwards of a dozen different decks of spiritual cards, some tarot, however you want to pronounce it, some totems, some oracle cards. But years ago, a Native American named Jamie Sams created sacred path cards and medicine cards, and that's where I started with my love of cards. I also love Doreen Virtue's card decks. Anyway, I used to get this awesome journal every year that has a calendar in it, and it's called The Sacred Journey Daily Journal for Your Soul, and it has a winter solstice card spread in it. So I'm going to do that tomorrow, now that you've reminded me, so thank you for that. And speaking of movies, I finally introduced my daughter to the movie It's a Wonderful Life the other night. And I know that's a holiday hit for many people. I knew she would love George Bailey's personality because it's kind of quirky like hers. And the fact that the movie is in black and white was a real coup because she's my throwback retro child. She asked for a typewriter for Christmas, for example. And today on the way to school, she ended up getting it from a friend in a white elephant or Secret Santa, I can't remember, party. She got this old Smith Corona typewriter, and she's so fired up about it. And today on the way to school, she was saying, Mom, I gotta think about where I'm gonna get more ink for it. Like, how am I gonna do that? Because I can't just go to Best Buy. So now we've got a whole new challenge with this, but she's so excited. Anyway, she loved the movie, thought it was funny. And even though, most people have seen it a dozen times or so, it's a timeless message. Every time I watch it, I think, oh, I'm glad I watched this, even though so many times I'll be like, oh, that again. But every time I watch it, I'm so glad because it reminds us of our importance on this planet and for us to never lose sight of the good that we do in our everyday lives, even when it may feel mundane or even the most challenging. So those of you out there, if you're feeling low, that's another great thing you can do for yourself. Watch It's a Wonderful Life and think about how important you are to so many other people. You may not even know that. You yourself are a gift, and never lose sight of that. Your unique personality, your laugh, your sense of humor, or even your quiet demeanor are predictable measures that others rely on every day. Your coworkers, your neighbors, your children, all is right in the world when they hear your voice or see you smile. Even the local cashier at the grocery store wants to see you. So anyway, everyone enjoy the holidays. Savor it so that you have no regrets later. I think it's time to wrap up, Joyce.
I think it is. So everybody have the best possible holiday they can, and we look forward to seeing you after Christmas. Till then, be well.
Yes.
Take care of yourself. We love you.